Hey ladies and fellers, and welcome back. Today we're going to be making cheesy garlic breadsticks. You can use this recipe maybe to go with your homemade pizza or with spaghetti, but I'll have another video about something else you can make with spaghetti that my family tends to like even better. But this one, don't be scared of this. This is a yeast recipe, but this one is not that bad. I'm going to go ahead and switch to the recipe side so I can show you the ingredients while we're making it.
How is this fair?
You don't eat pink, cat.
Well, unless you're
Okay.
then of course you'll eat.
So you can see in the bottom
Especially the lead-based.
right hand corner is going to be the ingredients that we're using. So we're going to start with our 2 cups of flour here. Want to level those off if you can. And we're going to use a little bit more later. But what I like to do is start with the first one. Leave our other one sitting right there. We're going to use 2 tablespoons of sugar. Side. 2 tablespoons of yeast. Now the reason I'm using more yeast is so that it'll rise faster, and you're not waiting as long for it to double in size to be done. And a teaspoon of salt. And then we're going to mix that up. Get those together real nice. I know this is going to sound weird, but add your oil right now. And start mixing that together. And then
Rocket starts with rock.
We're going to start adding our water. Just about half of it.
Because I wanna.
And just a fair warning, this will make your house smell like a beer brewery because of how much yeast you're using, but that's completely fine. Like, I can smell it right now. It smells like a beer brewery. I'm going to go ahead and add the other half of our flour here. Start mixing that in. Just want to incorporate it as much as possible here. Then we're going to add some more of our water here. This might not take the full 2 cups, but it doesn't hurt to have the extra just in case. So So what we're trying to do here is we're going to form a loose dough ball that will pull away from the sides of the bowl, but not one that's so sticky that you can't move it around, because before we let it sit and rise, we are going to, sorry, just adding a little bit more flour there, maybe a quarter cup. You don't want it to be so sticky that you can't maneuver it, because we're going to put this in a separate oiled bowl while we let it raise. So that's pretty good dough right there. So this is about the size it's going to be before we turn it out into an oiled bowl and let it raise. So I'm going to pause here, and then I'll get that bowl and I'll show you how that's done.
Bet you don't know where I'm at.
You're on the couch. That sounds horrible.
Okay, so
Yeah, you don't have to
now
wait until your brother and I yourself.
that we have our dough like this, we're going to add just a little bit more flour. Kind of move that around in there. This is the part where you actually have to use your hands. You can't just use a mixer to mix that in. So mix that in like so, and then we're going to put it in a separate bowl, our oiled bowl here, and put it in there. And we'll wind up wrapping that with our cling film. Alright, pro tip, ladies and fellers, if you suck with cling wrap like I do, get yourself some of this right here. Press and seal. Let me show you how this stuff works. So we'll take off the amount we need, about that much right there. And we're going to lay it over top of the bowl. But this stuff, if you just kind of run your fingers around the edge of this bowl, it will stick to the bowl better than trying to use cling film. And it will allow it to have some air in there so that it will raise like it's supposed to. And so I'll come back in about 30 to 40 minutes when that's raised. And then I'll show you the next part.
Yes, you do.
Okay, now that we've let it proof, and that's really doubled in size, as it should, now comes the fun part. Knock it back. Let it shrink back down. And if you did this right, this should be nice and oiled and pliable. And so that'll help, along with, I greased this baking sheet, cookie sheet, baking sheet, whatever you want to call it. And here's a pro tip, fellers. Make sure that you don't preheat the oven, so that your wife, who is hungry, whose lunch you're making, will come around behind you and preheat the oven and remind you that your dough would have risen faster if you would have preheated the oven.
Yeah, 'cause it's been like an hour.
That's how you're supposed to do it.
You're actually supposed to preheat first.
No! You're only smart if you preheat. Oh, and there it goes, telling me that it is preheated.
It would have been preheated like an hour ago if you had turned it on.
Yes, it would have. Yes, it would have. And now that you have a nice loose dough here, set that out on our baking sheet. And we're just going to kind of work that around, get it in all the edges. And now look, if you take your active dry yeast that we put right into our mixture, another pro tip here, if you take that and you set it aside with say 1 cup of lukewarm, not hot because it'll kill the yeast, but lukewarm water or blood warm, however you want to say it, you take that and set that aside with just a little bit of the sugar that you're going to put in and wait until it foams up. This recipe will get even bigger, and you could use it for say 2 pans of these if you really needed them for a big family gathering. Or the same dough, you could use it and let it double proof. So when we just knocked it back, wrap that back up, let it raise again. You could use that and make a loaf or 2 of bread. Okay, now that we have it spread out like that, we're going to take a fork and poke holes in it. And now the reason we're doing this is going to help our topping, our garlic butter that we're about to make, kind of seep in a little bit. So then we're going to take, that's about that much butter, probably 1/3 of a stick of butter, and zap that for about 30 seconds. Clean up a little bit here. And then we're going to add garlic salt. You can use garlic powder if you don't have garlic salt, that's fine, but I find I like the flavor of this a little bit better.
It's super good.
It is super good. And some parsley.
Ow, I got paint in my eyes.
And so once you get the melted butter, yes, there is parsley and the garlic salt, but it's not quite enough.
Okay.
Once you get that, then you're going to add your garlic salt. And you just flavor that as much or as little as you like. I'm going to flavor it kind of heavy. And then you add your extra parsley flakes. And give that a good stir around. Now, alternately, what you can do instead of melting the butter is you can take that stick of butter and you can add your seasonings to it and just kind of work those in by hand. And that way you'd have more of a garlic butter paste that you could put over the top of it if you wanted to. Either way works fine, but that's what I'm going with today. And so I'm going to pour it out on the top there, kind of like that. And then I'm going to use my brush here. And today I have a tiny brush because I have a wife who is obsessed with tiny things. So this is a tiny baster brush.
Sorry.
Tiny kitchen gadgets. Jesus, woman.
Sorry.
I mean, it is kind of true, though. You like kittens and puppies and children, and they're all tiny things.
I'm not tiny.
You were once.
That's why I don't like you anymore.
What do you mean I have you scroll?
So we're just going to kind of spread that around.
I'm still laughing at myself.
You're still laughing at your joke about tiny things.
You said it.
Spread that out nice and thin. And that's looking nice nice. And so then we're going to add our cheese. And this is just this is a shredded low moisture part skim mozzarella. Handcrafted, that's right. Actually, you can make this stuff at home by yourself. If anyone's interested in seeing that, let me know in the comments. We might do a video on that. I just don't want to buy the supplies if nobody wants to see it, because it takes a whole gallon of milk. And the mozzarella you wind up getting out of it is a tiny ball of mozzarella. So.
I do like tiny things, so.
You do like tiny things, that's right. And then we're going to plop that in the oven at 350 degrees for about 12 to 15 minutes till your cheese gets nice and golden brown on top, but not burnt. And then I'll show you the process of what it looks like afterwards, and then you cut it up and serve it with a nice pizza sauce.
If you want.
If you felt led to. Alright, and now for the moment of truth. They are done.
It only took forever.
Yes, it only took forever. I know, you're hangry.
I didn't leave that cutting board out. Did you put it up?
Yes, I did put it up because he left it right on top of the stove where I was going to be cooking. And with any luck, ladies and fellers, when they're done, that's what they should look like. So, we're going to put them out onto a cutting board, cut them up, and then I'll taste test one for you and tell you what it tastes like, even though I know already. Okay, now I can show you what they look like. They've been cut up, and since I denied my wife lunch for so long, she has hers already.
That's right.
So, now comes the taste testing. Take this one right here out of it. Oh, they look so good. Oh, those are even better than yesterday.
A little salty.
A little bit of sauce. Oh, they're even better. Says they're a little salty, just like me. Oh,
But when I do them, I only lightly do the garlic salt, and then I go back over it with just garlic powder
well, that's
for a
good
better
idea,
garlic flavor and not so salty.
That's a good idea too.
And I
So
love the garlic salt, but
light on the garlic salt and then go back over the top with a little bit of garlic powder. It's a good idea. So if you guys try these, leave me a comment or say something on Discord. Let me know how it turns out. Looking at you, Job, since you're the one that did the sausage and biscuits. Or sausage, gravy, and
there you
biscuits.
go.
So if you try it, let me know how it turns out. See you next time, folks.